Chapter 7, Day 10. We're going to work on learning target J, multiplying and dividing numbers in scientific notation. So here's a great example of why this makes sense, because here's a problem. It says the Pacific Ocean is the Earth's largest body of water. The surface area of the ocean is 1.741 times 10 to the 15th squared feet, and the average depth of that ocean is 1.3 times 10 to the 4th squared feet. If we wanted to find the volume right here of the Pacific Ocean, we would need to multiply those numbers together. And how do we do that? Well, we could write this number out, but we'd have to move the decimal point over. There's 3 places. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, that's a really large number. Even to enter in our calculator, we would have to have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 zeros. Okay? And it might be really hard to enter that in your calculator and keep track of all those zeros. Okay, so if what we can do instead, if we can take these two numbers right here that we have and keep them in scientific notation and multiply them together, it will be a lot easier. And actually, we've already done some of this because we actually already know how to take 10 to the 15th times 10 to the 4th. Because we're just going to add those exponents. So really, we would just need to take 1.741 times 10 to the 15th and multiply it by 1.3 times 10 to the 4th. And again, these are just multiplied together. And so are these. So really all we have to do is take the base of 10 to the 15th, multiply by 10 to the 14th, and that's going to give us 10 to the 15 plus 4, 19th power. And then all we have to do is multiply these first two numbers together, which would be 1.741 times 1.3, which gives us 2.2633. And that was a lot simpler. So that's what we're going to work on today, is multiplying and dividing numbers in scientific notation. So let's start out with multiplying. I kind of already showed you that. But to multiply numbers in scientific notation, we multiply the numbers in front, and then we add the exponents of the 10, and then we make sure that our number is in scientific notation, because if it isn't, we may have to change the number around a little bit like we did yesterday. So let's try a few, okay? The first one is fairly easy because we're going to take the 2 and the 4 and multiply those together to get 8. Then we take the powers of 10, 10 to the 5th times 10 to the 3rd gives us 10 to the 8th power. That number is already in scientific notation, so that is our answer. Now, if we have decimal numbers, it's no big deal. We just use our calculator. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video and try number 2 on your own to see if you can get the correct answer, and then restart the video to make sure you've done it correctly. Okay, when you solve this one, your answer should be 6.12 times 10 to the 15th. Again, all I did was multiply these two numbers, and that's what gave me the 6.12. And then I multiplied 10 to the 4th and 10 to the 11th, and that's what gave me 10 to the 15th. Okay, so let's do this last one. Now we have 3.3 that we're going to multiply by 2.6, which gives us 8.58. So when we multiply these two numbers together, we get 8.58. And then we have our power of 10, 10 to the 7th times 10 to the negative 4. When I add those exponents, remember 7 plus negative 4 is going to give me 10 to the 3rd. So there's multiplying. But again, sometimes when we do this, when I multiply the 5.3 times 3.6, now I get 19.08. And that's not a number between 1 and 10. So now remember what we did yesterday is we have to move this decimal over so that first number is a number between 1 and 10. And that's going to change our exponent power. And sometimes, again, it gets tricky trying to figure out, do I add one number to the 9 or subtract? Well, if this number was written out, right now you would have to move this decimal point over. If I go back to this original problem right here, if I was to write the number out, I'd be going this direction 9 places. Because I moved over one more place, I'm going to have to add one more to get 10 to the 10th. All right, you try the next one on your own. Pause the video, see if you can not only get the correct answer, but you can also see if you can move the decimal point, or sorry, change the power of 10 as you move the decimal point the correct way. So when I multiply these two together, I get 26.23 times 10 to the 12th power. But again, that's not a number between 1 and 10, so I'm going to have to move this over to make it 2.623. Again, I had to move it over to the left one, so that means I'm going to have to add one more power of 10, just like I did in that last example. Okay, so now let's look at dividing. Okay, so again, dividing, what do you think we're going to do? Take a guess. Well, we're going to divide the numbers in front, and then we are going to do what with the exponents? Remember, we have to subtract the exponents. And another way we could write this is 8 times 10 to the 11th divided by 2 times 10 to the 4th. And now maybe that makes it a little bit clear the reason why we're going to divide this like a fraction. And that would give us 4 times, and then again, we're going to subtract those exponents to get 10 to the 7th power. All right, let's try a few. Okay, again, in this first example, we are going to divide these two numbers, and that is going to give us 2. We're going to subtract the exponents, 5 minus 3, that gives us 10 to the 2nd. Okay, your turn, you try the next one. Take your calculator out, find the answer, and then restart the video to make sure you got it correct. So when I take 7.1 and I divide it by 1.2, when I divide this on my calculator, I get 5.916 repeating. And you could probably round that, but I'm just going to leave it. And then I'm going to subtract those exponents to get 10 to the 5th power. All right, you can try the third one on your own, and then you can check back to the notes to make sure you got it correct. This one's a little tricky. Actually, why don't you go ahead and try it, and then restart the video to see if you got it correct. All right, when you divide those first two numbers, that gives you 1.269. I'm going to round that to 3 places rather than write all those places out. And then this is going to be 10 to the 11th power because that's 7 minus a -4, and that's where we add. So be careful, use your calculator for those pieces. And just like when we multiply, sometimes when we divide, we don't get a number in scientific notation. When I divide 3 divided by 6, I get 0.5, okay, times 10 to the 5th. But again, 0.5 is not a number between 1 and 10. So I need to move this over one place to make it 5 times 10 to the 4th. And now this time, since I moved it over, I'm gonna originally need to move it over 5 places, but now I'll only need to move it 4. So again, can be tricky, but give it your best shot. You try the next one on your own. Okay, when you do the next problem on your own, what you should get when you take 4 divided by 5, 4 divided by 5 gives you 0.8. So again, just like in that last example right here, that is not a number between 1 and 10. So again, I'm going to have to move this over to make it 8. And then again, you're going to do 1 less power. So Hopefully that is starting to make some sense and kind of a review of some of the things you've worked on in the past. So that's the end of our day 10 lesson.